Okay, time for the second coil. So here's my piece. Again, there's those little pieces. Let's punch those in. I'm actually just gonna rip it with my hands this time. I'm gonna take another nice healthy chunk off of that. It's not quite half. And now I'm gonna make a coil. Just like before. Okay, now here's my coil. I've made it just about the same width as the board. And that actually has been a pretty good measuring guide. If I make it about the width of the board, it seems to be enough to do the full circle. Okay, so it's ready. Tiny bit of cracking again, not as much this time. So I'm just do a little bit of water, okay? I'm gonna roll that water. I don't want it to be slippery, so I'm rolling that onto the board, letting the board absorb some of that water. All right, now I want to stick this on. This is going to be exactly the same as what I did before. I'm going to put it on, join it to itself, do the inside, do the outside. So I'm going to do that and I'll speed up the video. Okay, so hopefully you've gotten this far and your pot is still relatively straight. Now you can see I've got a big hump here in the middle. That's intentional. This is a lot of the extra clay that I'm going to use to pinch and make this go vertical. Before I do that, I'm going to do one little a little pro tip for you. So right now the bottom of the mug is flat. I actually think it's better to have the mug slightly cupped in the middle. It actually helps in the firing. So it's also possible to put a foot ring on here, which I'll probably end up doing as well, a coil of clay. But before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and cup the bottom. So now that there's two rings on the mug, it's not super squishy. So I can actually turn it over. I mean, it's, it's firm enough to hold its shape. That's what I mean. I'm gonna turn it over. I'm just gonna use the palm of my hand and just very lightly tap. And all I need to do is just get a little bit of a curve right there. That's it. I don't need to do more than that. If you forget to do this step, it's not the end of the world. But if you're watching the video now, you can do this and just, kind of go ahead and do that. There's lots of rough edges along the side right here. Don't worry about that right now. So just cup that part. You can set it right back down. Okay, great. So now is the part that where things start to get out of control a lot. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna try to pinch this and make it go up because I'm trying to make a cylinder, right? Like this guy right here. So this is one of the older ones that I did. So I'm just gonna try to make this go straight up. The problem is that when I go to pinch it, the clay, if it'll do whatever it can, if I don't control it, it would much rather go out than up. So when you go to do this, or if you've done this in the past, you may have started trying to make a cylinder mug and it goes whoop, and it's like, oh look, I made a bowl. So that's fine. If you make bowls, great. But if you want to try to keep a cylinder, this is where usually you lose the cylinder. So what I need to do is I'm using both hands, just pincher movement right there. So together, fingers are on the inside, thumbs are on the outside. I also sometimes do this on the opposite side. So the fingers are on the outside, thumbs are on the inside. It doesn't matter. You can do it with one hand, you can do it with your middle fingers. You know, there's no like right way to pinch. The key is this. When I pinch, I need it to go up and not out. Since it wants to go out, I'm actually going to try to pinch it in like this, like a pyramid. So I'm going to actually try, in my brain, I'm going to tell myself my outside hand is going to pinch in and up and slightly towards the middle of the pot as I go. So if I do it on here, I have to pinch towards the middle of the pot. This way towards the middle of the pot. This way towards the middle of the pot, right? Okay, you get it? So that is what gives you the control. So all I'm doing is, if I feel this now, it's thicker, it's medium thick, and then it gets thicker, then it gets medium thick again, and then it gets thick again down at the bottom. So now that I have 2 coils on, I've got enough to really start shaping the wall. So I'm gonna start at the very bottom near the base, and I'm gonna try to squeeze that clay, but I'm squeezing and pushing up, right? So I don't want it to go out. So I'm going to try to squeeze this part all the way up like this. Now I don't need to get it its final thickness. All I'm trying to do is whatever the thickness it was at the top, I'm trying to make it that thickness or something close to that thickness all the way down. You can see right now, you see where that part is jumped up. That's good, that's what you're looking for. You want it to jump up all the way around. So I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna keep going with that. Sometimes you have to pinch towards your fingers towards each other as well as going up. So if it starts to go out, pinch your fingers a little bit towards each other. Okay, so you can kind of see now I've gotten up almost double the height of what it used to be. And it's now pretty close to the same thickness all the way down. Right at the bottom, in some places, I can definitely feel there's a little bit more clay. So I know there's more that I can get out of that. I might put another coil on and then come back and finish the rest. You can see that the top is getting a little bit bumpy, right? So it's not even across the top. Some people like to cut the top flat. I don't, and you know, if yours is going like woo, like really high on one side and really low on the other, you might want to do that. But if you're anywhere in the ballpark to level, I would just leave it alone, okay? You can now kind of see maybe the inside and the outside is kind of starting to smooth out just from me pinching it. So when you're making a pot, one of the things, if I have a student who's a perfectionist, they want to make this part perfect right now. Don't try to do that. Let it be kind of a rough sketch of a pot, all the way up until you get all the clay on. Then after that, you can start to refine it. Then we let it rest, and then you can refine it even more. So if you're looking for like a super smooth surface, if you spend all your time trying to get it smooth right now, it's actually counterproductive. Another thing that I've seen people do sometimes right now is then they start, oh, well, I'll smooth it out with some water right now. That is really a bad idea, because if you add water to this surface, it's going to start getting really, really, really soft. And then as you're trying to build up, this part starts to collapse. So don't worry about getting the surface perfect yet. Just get a rough sketch of a cylinder to start with, okay? So, all right, there is 2 coils now. I'm going to add the next coil. Again, same thing as I did before. I'm going to add the coil, and then I'll pinch it up, and I'll kind of speed through all that just so you can see it. Okay, look, that's it. 3 coils on a mug. Great. So it's a nice cylinder all the way around. Still plenty soft and flexible, but it's easy for me to pick it up. I'll give you sort of the tester. Boonk. So you can actually see this sort of standard mug. This one's just about the same size. So 3 coils is all it took. I actually still have clay left over. So this is the chunk of clay that I have left, so I'm going to put this back. So this was probably maybe slightly more than a pound by the time I got done with it. It wasn't a full like 1.5 pounds to 1.75 pounds. It may be more like 1.25 pounds. I don't even know why I'm telling you that. It's not really that important. It just may be helpful for you when you're trying to gauge your own, how big you're getting and you know, how thick your pieces are, how much clay you're using. So I've got about that much left over, which would be great. I can use that for the handle. I'm gonna put this away and then I'll finish up. Okay guys, that's it. First project. Hope you're enjoying it. So here's my mug. Here's that extra. I'm gonna toss this one aside for a minute. Now it's time for me to clean up all of the materials. So got all of the clay back and into one big kind of mass ball. I'm gonna take this, and because I have a handy dandy twist tie, I'm gonna use the twist tie to tie that down. Okay, and I'm still gonna use the extra bag to kind of wrap the rest of it. All right, my tools I'm just going to collect right here to get the clay off of the tools. And I didn't use the sponge today. And let's get the clay off of this. These little tiny bits of clay that if you have little flakes of clay left over, this is perfect for your slip bucket. So here is my slip bucket, and I'm just going to put those in there. I can always add a little bit more water to that and get that done. And there's my dowel. I'm going to take the dowel out too. All right, so there's all my tools. This I can just set aside. If that dries out, it's no problem. You just add a little bit more water to it, crush it back up, and you're ready to go. So, all right, I actually have a second mug. So this was one that I made earlier. So I'm going to wrap these two up together. I'll show you how I do that. So I'm gonna actually wrap them on the board. So let me move them off the board for a second. And here is my trash bag. I'm gonna wrap it basically like I was wrapping a burrito. So I'm gonna put the bag down over everything. Put that there, put that there. And I'm gonna wrap this side, and the side, and this end, and this end. Okay? And then I like to put something like, how about this little slip cup right there, just to sort of keep it down. Okay, that's it. If you wrap like this, you will lose very little moisture along the way. So when I come back to these tomorrow, they'll probably be in about the same state that they are now. If I wanted this to go faster, instead of wrapping it like this, leave it on the board and just drape the plastic over the top. And that way there's a little bit of air trapped in there, and that air can circulate. And I can even, depending on how lightly I set the plastic, I can make it dry a little bit faster, a little bit slower. I still would recommend at this point that after you get a cylinder made, that you let it rest before you move ahead to the next step. So yeah, anyway, I recommend that. If you really like dying to like keep working, make a second cylinder, no problem. Hope you enjoyed this, and then I will show you some more things with the next episode. The next one, it will be handles, and we'll talk a little bit about how to make some handles. And then the one after that will be kind of variations. Like, how can you take this really simple idea and, kind of take it to the next level. Okay, see ya, bye.